Hey y'all, put a one in the chat if you can hear me. Sorry if you couldn't hear my intro. Um, I have to switch for work my sound, and I think I forgot. My bad. I thought I was good to go. But put a one in the chat if you can hear me. Okay, good. Great. So the intro is the outro today, so you'll get to hear it on your way out. All right, guys, thank you for being here. Hey, toe beans, welcome in. Go ahead and hit that like button while you're here. The graphics were great, though, says Lenny. Thanks. It keeps your imagination going on what was being said during that. So sorry about that. Hi, Miss Rubug. I am like on the ends of this whole cold thing that I've got. And like, you think you're doing better, and then all of a sudden everything wants to expel, if you will. And you sound like one of those old smokers on The Simpsons. What is her name? Marge Simpson's sisters, Excuse me for that. Um, so if I start hacking, I am so sorry. It's just at the end of the stage. So what do we want to talk about today? Well, I contemplated putting it out there for a minute about the original detainer that was sent to Stacey Wondra while he was finishing out his federal sentence in Arizona at the FCI Phoenix facility before he was picked up on this detainer, most recent detainer. But I think it's very important to show those receipts. I tried to do it on my last two lives, and I figured out what happened. If I stream with OBS, which is what I use, it will limit the amount of resources I can use to pull it up. So it just rejects it every time I try to put it up on the screen or upload it. So that was the problem. That is going to be the first thing that we're diving into today. Hi, everyone that's coming in. If you're watching the replay, again, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe if you like what you see. And if you want more updated content on not just true crime or Michael Vaughan's case, but many other things that are coming in the works. And Marge thing is happening, right? Everybody's been sick lately. I know. So if you are sick, it is the season. 'Tis the season. I hope you feel better and recover quickly. All right. So I finally got this thing uploaded. And if you're new here, new to the case, I'm going to give you a brief rundown, as I always do, so that you know kind of the basics. Michael Vaughan went missing at 5 years old on July 27, 2021, near his home after 6:30 or so, allegedly. And there was not a lot of updates in the case until mid-2022, where Chief Huff, who was the chief of police for Fruitland Police, where Michael went missing, stated that there were multiple persons that they were looking into. They did not specify at the time. And then jump a few months ahead, and there's a full-blown excavation happening at a yard 4 minutes away from Michael's home. All right, a 4-minute walk away. This tip came from Stacey Wondra, the owner of or not the owner of the home, but the person staying there. He was in Washington County Jail at the time for an unrelated gun charge. And he tipped in after being met with by police and Chris Madonna from the Cold Case Foundation as he was assisting the family for Michael's case and Fruitland. He decided to call Fruitland and say, okay, I know where Michael is. He's buried in our backyard. And then there was a press conference shortly after that explaining a little bit of information about what they are doing, Fruitland was sending off evidence to a private lab for DNA analysis to see if they had anything on Michael being in the backyard. So jump to now, because a lot of things have happened since then, including Fruitland sending the case in 2023 to the prosecutor while still taking in tips and still investigating, still searching a lot of places. Very tight-lipped on this process. Now jump to now. Here we are with the tipster, Stacey Wondra, who did a round on YouTube quite a few times expressing that he is innocent and that he false confessed when he did, when he talked to police, when he made that tip, because he was under pressure. And I think that there was a little bit more to it. However, here we are today. Stacey was detained through Payette County Prosecutor Mike Duke in Arizona, and he is now transferred after finishing that sentence on the 30th of October to the Maricopa County Jail, where he is waiting extradition for first-degree murder, second-degree kidnapping, and destruction of evidence. All right. The first-degree murder charge, is punishable by death. We're not going to know yet if they are going to pursue that. We aren't really sure if these charges will stick. We don't really know anything until he gets back to Idaho and he is extradited and actually indicted on these charges. Okay? Real quick, hey, Mr. Eve, what's up? I see you in chat. Oh, I forgot something very, very important, everybody. It is Mr. Eve, my husband's birthday today. Ooh, happy birthday, Mr. Eve. Everybody put hearts in the chat for him. It's his birthday. He's a birthday boy. And thank you for letting me go live, by the way, Mr. Eve, on your birthday. I appreciate it, but it was very important. What do you need, sir? After that, did I forget you? Do you need me? What's up? Oh, let me check my text. Sorry, guys. Can anybody hear me? Is there something wrong? What's up? Okay. So, Sweet Crazy 576 says, what do you think they have on him? That's a good question. Well, that's $1 million question. I don't know. You would have to have a very extensive probable cause affidavit full of information. But what I can tell you is that a judge signed off on Sarah Wondra, his wife, signed off on a probable cause affidavit that was later dropped. That charge was dropped for many issues. And one of the issues that was stated in the hearing that we can listen to after I show you this motion that no one has seen before. Hold on, I'm sorry, Mr. Eve needs me. One moment. Sorry, guys. Give me just a quick second. Oh, his keys are with me. Guys, give me literally one moment. I'll be right back. I'm back. Sorry about that. The probable cause was basically when she was served the warrant at the home after Stacey had put in this tip of his confessing, and I put that in air quotes, but you can't see me. Sarah kind of went into a psychosis, if you will, which actually a psychologist on Nancy Grace, I know it's Nancy Grace, but don't come at me, but she said that it sounded like Sarah went into a psychosis, which I agree because she does have mental health issues and she's diabetic and her blood sugar was off the chain. Um, her insulin. So she spouts out, God just told me who did it. God just told me Stacey did it. And then says Adrian was there. He was too afraid. Just started spouting off pretty much theories in her mind after being shocked with this information, in my opinion. And that's kind of the consistency with this psychologist. So that alone right there got her a charge of failure to report a death that was later dropped again because of the issues in the probable cause, and it would violate her Fifth Amendment right, which is the basically the right to self-incriminate, right? So that's why they dropped it. There was more to it than that. And there was a case law that was actually referenced that I have gone over extensively. I will put that link in the description later. You really need to go listen to that live that I did about that, because this case law that they referenced, they could have used any in the world and they used this one. And it kind of gives you an idea of maybe what similarities in that case could align with this one in Michael's case. Not saying it is, but you could probably read between the lines on some things. So anyway, here we are now. What do I think about Stacey's probable cause? Like, what do they have on him? His confession would be at least one of them. I would assume. Even though he did tell his mother he was lying and then changed the story again saying, I'm not lying, because they were like, what the hell, man? You just told us to go dig in your backyard. You tell your mother right after that you just wanted to call and that you're angry, and you lied to them to get them off your back. And then he switches it up again. So how could you really look at that confession, the footage that Brandy Neal herself released, or Brandy Vaughan, I should say, released, that body cam footage of that whole entire process that she had known about for a while. She had gotten it from a friend who FOIA'd it for her on a different related matter. It was about body cam footage of Stacey fighting someone in jail, and somehow that turned into getting body cam footage of this confession and talking to Chris McDonough and Juanita told the detective there on where to find Michael. So that would be the only thing that I could say would be part of this. Like, that's the only thing that I am aware of. Now, I will tell you this. I do know what Chief Huff, the Fruitland Chief of Police, what he was looking for very recently this year. And it cost about $6,000 out of the reward fund. I know exactly what that is. It is, from my understanding, something to do with the Lexus that was driven that day by Stacey Wondra. I don't know what they're doing with that. I just know that there was a name attached to this, and it wasn't any of the four suspects. It wasn't anything like that. I don't know if they were the new owners of this vehicle. I don't know anything about that. I could assume that, because you would leave somebody without a car or a vehicle if you had to take it to get tested. I don't know the ins and outs, but I do know that a name is attached to this car. And I'm assuming they wanted to do some testing on this. I don't know. But I just do know that they have possession of this Lexus that was driven the day Michael went missing by Stacey Wondra for sure. Okay? Now, what does that mean? I can't tell you, but I do know that having some of his data of where he was, I can tell you that 1:30 he was at the splash pad near Michael's home, and At 3:45, he was actually in the Albertsons parking lot where the mother works, getting a prescription for Sarah at 3:40, 3:45. Okay. He did a few taxi rides that day, one in Boise, and then one from Ontario to somewhere else. That's what I'll say. That's all I can tell you that I know in regards to maybe the vehicle being important. Maybe there was somebody he took on a taxi ride that he didn't understand could be involved in this case. I've always felt that way. I'm not afraid to say that now. It could be. We don't know. You don't know what you don't know. But YouTube's rampant speculation about what a suspect says on YouTube is not evidence. It could be in court, right? But out here, we don't know what's evidence in the investigation, so I can't say. But let's get back on track here. It's a great question, and I'm glad you asked that because it's something to think about and something that I actually really need to think about more, because I'm not looking at it from the suspects, because I've done so much research. I've talked to multiple people close. I know a lot. So that's a great question. Chris said someone with fetal alcohol are at high risk for suggestibility. Yeah, they're actually doing studies on this now. I went over a live on people who were born with fetal alcohol syndrome and related issues from that are at a higher risk to false confess while in prison being interrogated than any other minority documented to date. They are the highest at risk. That has been proven by studies, or suggested rather by studies that are being done recently from cases stemming from the 80s on to now. Because back then they really didn't have something to name if you were born with fetal alcohol syndrome. You were just different your whole life. And they didn't have the things that we have today to diagnose you with that. Yeah, it is crazy. So, not to mention, real quick, that people don't realize how many people actually false confess while in prison, let alone not in prison. It is suggested up to 35% of confessions are false. Up to 35%. And I believe 10 to 15% of those are where people get convicted wrongfully. It's pretty crazy. No, I'm sorry. It jumped to 25% as of recently. That's very alarming. And this is why you should really not decide based on YouTube rhetoric that somebody said something and this is what it means. Like, don't let YouTube people feed you, not even me. Don't let YouTube people feed your this rhetoric, okay? It's not okay. And think that that's the truth. It's not the truth. It's just not. You can discuss it all day, but don't hang your head on it, okay? Most things via Occam's razor, which is the most simplistic and usual reasoning, is the truth, usually. So anyway, I'm going to pull up this motion. Now, what is this motion? Okay. This motion is from Payette County, Prosecutor Mike Duke, from September 9th, 2025. All right. Keep that date in your mind. That was a month and some change ago. I'm going to pull up the first page. And let's read it. I'm not going to give the full page because there's stuff on there that no one needs to see, because there are people out there that love to harass these suspects' family members. I know each and every one of them. I know who you are, and not that I'm going to do anything with it. I just know who you are. And they don't need this information because you can't get it. You're not going to get it anywhere else. Okay. And I'm not saying that to be like poo poo. But I just don't want it fully out there. There's some things on the top of this page that you don't need. I don't even need it. All right. So, what is this? This is a writ of ad prosecutandum. I finally learned how to say this. A writ of prosecutandum. And what does this mean? It means that we can extradite you immediately for charges that are pending. We want to prosecute you, and there's reason to believe that we have that right to extradite you right now. So, Idaho versus Stacey James Wondra, defendant. Comes now Michael Duke, Payette County Prosecuting Attorney, by and through Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Kimberly S. Bratcher, who hereby petitions this court to withdraw the previously issued writ of habeas corpus ad prosecutandum. A writ of habeas corpus ad prosecutandum is an efficient way to swiftly bring a prisoner to the state. It differs from a detainer, which is what he has now. Rather than requiring the immediate presence of the prisoner, a detainer merely puts the officials of the institution in which the prisoner is incarcerated on notice that the prisoner is wanted in another jurisdiction for trial upon his release from prison. So it's just telling you it's the efficient way to swiftly bring a prisoner to the state, unlike a detainer who says, hey, we coming to get you when you're done. Right? All right, next page. Again, this has been dismissed as of September 9th, 2025. So I can't tell you when the original ad prosecutandum motion was filed by Mike Duke. All I know is that it was dismissed on this date. So the state had previously elected to petition for a writ to expedite prosecution due to a necessary witness's rapidly declining health. That witness would be the mother, Brandy Vaughan, who unfortunately needed a liver transplant. That was a life-saving procedure. And they were not sure she was going to pull through, okay, at the time. So, subsequent to the writ being issued, the witness was able to obtain an operation and is currently recuperating. In this case, the defendant is expected to be released from federal custody on October 30th, as we know. Therefore, as the urgency of the prosecution has appeared to be abated, the state no longer wishes to proceed on the writ of habeas corpus ad prosecutandum. Dated 9/9/2025, signed by XOXO Michael Duke. Okay, clear as mud? So what does this mean? Well, in short layman's terms, it means that they needed, in some form or fashion, to prosecute based on a witness's ability to testify, because that's what a witness would do. But it doesn't really give an explanation as to what specifically. We're not going to know that until they testify. The issue is, I don't understand why they would need to do it in an emergency situation if they could have done it before. What was the holdup? What are we waiting for? Was this used as a benefit towards the prosecution for others, maybe other suspects, to be like, hey, we're coming? And I don't know. Like, you could only speculate so much. But just hear me out for a second, okay? I'm not trying to insinuate anything with what I'm about to say at all. This is speculation station. Do not take this as fact. This is just my brain thinking this through as much as I can. What if a tragedy occurred where they didn't pull through the witness? What would be, and I'm so thankful, really honest, that isn't the case. What if that did happen? What would change? Would it change? How would that witness's ability to testify change? Would somebody have to do that on behalf of? How would that work? So here, because that was the thought process, right, of the of Stacey Wondra, who is looking at this motion that was filed, I would assume in August, maybe. What would happen then? What would change with this charge? Would they have to drop it and wait? I don't know. I'm going to check in the chat before we continue. It's just something that you need to be aware of. If it was just something like we need to charge expeditiously because, I don't know, due process, I don't know. I really don't know. Just whatever other reason it could be that's not based on a witness's ability to testify, I wouldn't bring it out. I really wouldn't. I would have just been like, it is what it is. But this is kind of a different situation. And it makes me think, like, why can't you just go ahead and charge them now? If you have the evidence and you're ready to go, but a witness's failing health is forcing your hand to get them to be charged, what's directing that? Does that make sense, guys? What is pushing that need? I could be overthinking this. It's just something to think about. Chris says that's what it says when you search for what happens to someone with fetal alcohol. Right. That's true. That's true. There's studies, like I said. And again, I'll put that link in for people to go look at that live that I did. It's very interesting. So do we think that he did it all himself, or we don't know. Here on this channel, from my perspective, I can't tell you a one theory. I do believe that Stacey lied about his knowledge of Michael Vaughan being in that backyard. I also, on the other hand, think he knows more about stuff that could be related to Michael Vaughan's case. I can't tell you, but I do know that I have a lot of information on where everybody was and what missing pieces they didn't even realize I found. Now, because that's going to be a defense potentially, I'm not going to share every single thing, but I can tell you, and you don't have to believe me. I have it. And if they are charged, or if anyone is charged, then would be the right time, right, to go over certain things. But right now is not the time. Where's the probable cause affidavit, says Jesse Martinez. We learned from Delphi and Karen case. Right. I'm so glad you mentioned both of them because they are always on my mind and actually have helped me figure out how to find information that would help kind of tie together what I'm saying here. In the Karen Reed case, in the Delphi case, there was a lot of issues with corruption. And I do feel like, with information that I know of, that there could be some corruptive nature in this case. It could be. It's seemingly so. Chris says, hey, and none of them did it, in her opinion. And that's very likely to me. But we also don't know everything, so we can't say for certainty, right? Miss Rubeck says, "Sweet crazy, I think that if you knew certain statements said by family members, for example, one said he wasn't seen when she got home that day, meaning the older sister, yeah, speaks for itself. Yeah, that's a big contention. That's a big contention. Um, you know, to be honest with you, if there was proof that other sibling knew what time Michael was last seen by that sibling, and it could be proven, I vouch right here on this platform that I will zip it and not cover a thing about it until the trial begins on this case. Until then, we continue, because that's a very big missing puzzle piece that has been stated many times. We will never know that until it comes out through the justice system. But I mean that. I really mean that. Toe Beans, this is the main reason I am here. I don't know if he's guilty, but he is certainly guilty by social media standards. For sure. Absolutely. The mass majority has been fed by what I will call missing kid vultures that cover cases and spin things into a narrative while making hand over fist, getting too close to family members and exploiting that. But it is the way it is. They're always going to be here. There's always going to be those types of people. And sometimes it's the yin to the yang in these cases. I am the yang, if you will. I do not follow that. I don't get a lot of views either. So that's why these people do it. But I'm not here for that. I'm here for what happened. What's the truth, and what can people learn from this for the betterment of their community, knowledge about what to look out for, things like that. And also how to support their own community to do better if this happens in their town. Because this is a very expensive case. And it affects the ability to do certain things in your community when you have a high profile missing child. Not that that is anyone's in particular fault in the outside of who did it. But what I'm saying is that it does affect the community no matter how you spin it. It's very costly. Filicide parents were responsible for 61%. What do you think? I think we shall see. I think we should wait and see what the evidence shows to whomever is being charged, indicted, and goes to trial. Not to blame the family, but just saying the statements that have been made don't align with things. Yeah, there's been inconsistencies. I think we could all agree. Yeah. Necessary witness rapidly declining health. Yep. It's a big one. And I'm not trying to exploit that. I'm not the one that wrote the damn motion or dismissed it. What I'm saying is that motion to dismiss that immediate prosecution and extradition request, there's something to it that's missing, that's important, because everybody just thinks that evidence is available, everything is good to go, we're ready to go. But I think there's a missing element, and that might get heads thinking, minds churning about what that could mean. Because again, what if she unfortunately did not make it? What would the next steps be? Would they have to drop that motion anyway and just, there's just a lot of things going in my mind that I can't tell you. I just don't understand it. I'm not a legal professional. I am reaching out to people that are attorneys that want to weigh in potentially if they would like to, and give their 2 cents. And I haven't gotten a response yet, so we will wait and see on that. Okay. Yeah, that was not good. That was not good. do, and he wasn't necessarily denied a lawyer, but the judge definitely did not give him the opportunity to address what he was saying. She skipped right on ahead to what she was wanting to do, which is, are you going to waive your extradition or are you going to fight it? Then she wanted to tell him, you know, go get you hire a private attorney once he made that decision. And I think that's wrong. I think that you should be able to have the ability to reach out to an attorney before the judge even sees your ass to make you make a decision. Like, that's just how Brian Koberger was afforded that in Pennsylvania before he got extradited. So why not him? I don't know. I just don't think. It's odd. It's odd to me. Lenny says, I don't get why either way, guilty is guilty. You still have to have undeniable evidence, right? And again, we don't know what they have. And we shall see. The Karen case said they had evidence. I want to see it. Well, that's for another day. Chris says, a lot of people on YouTube don't want facts. They want the drama. Colorado Dog Mama says, false confession. It seems to be that way for me, at least. Does Brandy Neal's husband 2 polygraph failures, affect a case? No. Well, it's inadmissible. And I will repeat what she has said to Stacey Wondra on a panel once. Ted Bundy passed his polygraphs, right? And she's been saying that since the beginning from things that I know, which is an odd statement, if I'm honest. But I guess I could see it. But they're not admissible. So interesting how they haven't arrested the other 3. Yeah. And that's another theory. Is this charge that he has not been officially indicted in a court on, is that the scare tactic for the others? It could be. There are cases that have gone to the appeal courts where this has happened to them, where they were being extradited on a murder charge. And they were hemmed up for like 100 and something days. And this is why the extradition process is very strict when it comes to out of state, because it can affect your due process rights. If you're hemmed up in a jail because they can't get their ducks together and they're trying to scare other co-defendants into pleading, confessing, whatever, taking a plea deal, their due process rights were violated, even though the appeals court said no, they weren't. But that's why we have these strict guidelines today, because it was a threat to a lot of people. Jerry Red Bird, I haven't seen any proof that Monkey has passed. Well, it's only been suggested by police. And I would highly doubt that police would ever lie about that. That would be pretty sick. However, you are right. There isn't, from what we understand, proof yet. There would be a lot of probable cause in a first-degree murder charge, though, right? And that's a big one. Jerry Redburnham, amen. I keep saying he could be held captive somewhere. It happens a lot in missing kids cases. That is like a live that I would have to really go into for a while to go into all of those different theories, because there's got to be something that the police know or have to suggest that he is no longer with us. Whether that be testing comparisons of DNA or blood. Now, I don't know where that would come from. We don't know that yet. But I have a feeling that maybe there was testing done way before even the excavation process happened, that they knew of something. Because the first year anniversary, Chief Huff kind of said, something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing, we're trying to figure out what events led up to the disappearance. So not just the time that he disappeared, but events leading up to that time, which is crucial. You got to know what was going on and who was what, where, when, and how to then know where to go invest in an investigative sense, right? So, genuine question, not for or against anyone, says Sunflower Soul 615. What do you think makes her a necessary witness if she wasn't there when it happened? Great question. Great question. I would say this. I believe that she could be a witness to whomever was involved in that sense. This is getting into territory. This is getting into some territory that's going to give me backlash, and it is what it is. She may have been in contact with someone who is involved or is a witness to those involved. Okay. That she's going to have to testify on, whether it be a defense move or a prosecutorial move. You have to remember, though, I mean, she woke up and saw Michael, right? From what we know or what we assume, allegedly. And she's going to have to testify from the beginning of that day till when she got back and the investigation immediately began. A criminal one did, her J.D. Huff. So she's a witness to that. She is a witness to the things surrounding the case from the jump. She's going to have to testify on those things. Who was what, when, and where? Who does she remember talking to? Who does she remember calling? And maybe there was an incident that we don't know about that they did cross paths. Whoever is going to be charged officially. But again, my issue, because we're not going to know, right? It's all speculative. My issue with that being a necessary witness is more so about getting that first-degree murder charge indictment ASAP, just because of that witness testimony. If you're ready to charge them. I don't think, and I know she's a crucial witness, right? I get that, but my mind cannot understand that. Maybe that was just a farce reason to mess with Stacey. Maybe that was, hey, TikTok. Isn't that what the YouTubers say? TikTok, the first one that talks gets a deal. Maybe that's what that was. I can't tell you. Again, all alleged. But it does make you think. So I can't hang my hat on anything right now. On theories, on a speculative sense of what's next. The YouTubers out here will try to convince you otherwise, that this is a very obvious thing. And I'm not buying that, and I'm not hanging my hat on that until it's official. And until then, we're going to talk about what's weird, what's off, what is this could mean. It's I'm at a loss for words on how weird this is to me. This whole process, I don't like it. I know things about the searches that were done that are odd. Statements that were made by police themselves while they were there that are odd. And this is not something that I knew directly. This is being told to me. So that even that is alleged. But if it was true, if I knew it were 100% true, I would tell you it. But it does make me pause. And so that's why that is why I am here. To make you think in a different way, right? We don't know what the probable cause affidavit that the extradition part, they're going to have to certify those charges. They're going to have to certify that he is going to step foot in Idaho to be charged right then, because they only have 180 days to send it to trial, which isn't a lot of time. But I think that's the normal protocol. But for a death penalty case, if it becomes a death penalty case, let me just say that if they decide to go that route, that is a heavy burden, as we saw in the Koberger case, right? And that trial was delayed many times. So that's where I'm at with this, Chris says, in my opinion, they didn't think Brandy was going to survive her illness, and they wanted charges pressed before something happens to her. Thank God she is better and doing good, though. Yeah, I agree. I'm glad. Very glad. Can you refresh my memory? Was Stacey indicted before and it failed? Great question. So this is about a grand jury. There was talk about a grand jury being held at least twice and returned a no. I think it was a no. Yeah. The grand jury said no dice on, and we don't even know who it was about. We don't know anything. We just know that the grand jury allegedly returned a no-go on the charges for whatever it is. We don't know because they're secret. But we do know, per J.D. Huff, that they sent all of the documents off to Mike Duke on the investigation in 2023. And Payette County did boof it on July 27, 2023 on the jury website that said grand jury will be held. And I think that was at least one of them that were being held that obviously did not bring back a charge, right? So that's kind of the problem. We don't know exactly what or who they were going after. Investigations sometimes will make it look like one thing in the public when it's nothing of the sort on the inside, okay? And that's why we have to wait and not hang our hat on this, even if it looks as obvious as it sounds. It doesn't make sense to me that police department were showing posters of the suspects without warrants being issued. News Nation said the same thing. One of the defense attorneys that they bring on said the same thing. And her view on this was that they're trying to get everyone to start talking, or even other people around these four suspects. Look what we're doing to them. You better come forward. We don't know what their investigative tactic was, but I have a feeling, because it's unusual for that to happen. Usually you would have at least one other suspect in custody already, and maybe they did for something else. I don't know, but it was not normal. And it was kind of a warning sign to say, we want you to go ahead and talk to us. The public knows who you are, and it puts a lot of pressure to come forward and say something before they lawyer up. Now, I think the opposite happened with at least two of them. Where the first thing they did was probably call a lawyer, but I would. Remember, folks, always get a lawyer. Always. Always, always, always. Mike Duke, the one who writes a letter saying, we believe we have the right people. Mm-hmm. We believe is reasonable doubt already. We believe. But it's also safe, because if new evidence comes through that exonerates a person, whatever the case may be, they have that fail safe. Well, we said we believe we know, not that we know. Because he can't really say that at the end of the day. That's all he really can say is we believe that, because you're assumed innocent until proven guilty by his team, his office. I try to be as fair as possible, but I get what you're saying. All right, so the next thing that I wanted to talk about and kind of go over, give me just a second and pull it up, is the court appearance for Stacey. I did make it a little different because I didn't want to be struck there are people that are, close to the family that work in the news. And I was struck like 4 times for using a clip of theirs. It hasn't happened since. I think that person had moved on, but it was very catty and unprofessional to do that when everybody else wasn't being had a strike on them for this. So I made it different so that I wouldn't have the chance of getting struck again. So that's why it looks like this. But this is the initial appearance for for Sarah Wondra, and I want you to listen to what the public defender states about the issues and the probable cause for her failing to report a death of Michael. Y'all can't hear anything? Wow. Okay, hold on one sec. Sorry. I was listening. Oh, maybe that's why. Whoops. Sorry. Okay, let me know.
On
You
or
hear that?
about the 12th day of November of this year, here in the state of Idaho, fail to notify the coroner of a death, the death of Michael Vaughan.
Did y'all hear this? Okay. Phew. Okay, hold on. Let me start over, y'all.
All right, we will next take up the case of Sarah Wondra.
Excuse me, Your Honor, do you need me for anything else today?
I do not think so. No, thank you very much for your help.
All right, you're welcome.
Are you Sarah Wondra? Ma'am, can you hear me? I need you to move in a little closer to the mic. I'm unable to hear you.
No, I'm Stacey Wondra.
Okay. You're Stacey Wondra?
Yeah, I'm Sarah Wondra, sorry.
You're Sarah Wondra. Okay, thank you. Ms. Wondra, in this case, which is CR 38221769, you are charged with having violated the law in one count. It is alleged that you did on or about the 12th day of November of this year, here in the state of Idaho, fail to notify the coroner of a death, the death of Michael Vaughan, with the intent to prevent the discovery of the manner of death. That is a felony here in the state of Idaho. Do you understand the allegation that's been made against you?
I understand what they've said is not correct.
All right. You have a number of rights when you are...
She said, I understand what they said, but it's not correct. All right.
Charged with a crime, and the deputies typically hand out a document that describes those rights in detail. Did you receive a document like that?
You're giving me documents right now.
All right. So in a criminal case, ma'am, you have the right to remain silent as it relates to the underlying charges. You have the right to require the state to prove the charges beyond a reasonable doubt, the right to cross-examine and confront the evidence the state may put on in an effort to prove its case, the right to testify in your own defense if you wish to, the right to use subpoenas to bring witnesses and evidence to the trial as you may determine to be appropriate, and the right to be represented by an attorney at all stages of these proceedings. Do you understand that you have those rights?
I have those rights, but I don't have any reason to be silent. I did nothing wrong.
All right, well, so I'm going to...
She says that she understands those rights, but she doesn't need them because she has done nothing wrong. And again, he's like, you have the right to shut the fuck up.
Remind you that you have the right to remain silent. I'm not going to say anything to you or ask you any questions that are designed to get you to speak about or encourage you to speak about the underlying events. But everyone who gives up that right and does speak about the case or make any statement at all about it, of course, those can be used against you. So I'll remind you of that. As it relates to your right to an attorney, do you intend to ask me to appoint an attorney at public expense? Do you intend to hire your own counsel or represent yourself in this case?
Represent myself? No, getting an attorney.
Okay.
Good girl.
Do you want me
That's
to
what-
appoint an attorney to help you?
That's right. For the moment, you need to get someone to work this case.
County expense?
I point one.
All right, let me have you raise your right hand to be sworn so I can ask you some questions to be sure you qualify. You solemnly swear the testimony that you're about to give me will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Ms. Wondra, what is your current physical address?
Well, I live in Henry, but 1102 Redmond Street, Fruitland, Idaho, 83619.
And your current telephone number? No, what, scratch that. I'm not going to ask you about that right now. Who is your current employer?
I employ myself, self-employed taxi driver.
And what is your typical income in a week?
Hey, Forensic Castro.
Wouldn't be able to tell you because I don't know the exact amount. I haven't been doing many taxi rides lately.
More or less than $500 a week?
Probably more than 500. But I haven't, again, doing lately.
So are you
Basically,
working
you
it all
don't
right
have
now?
any money.
Well, obviously not if I'm in jail, but I only work day to day.
Right, so I'm just trying to get an idea of what your typical income is. Obviously, when a person's in custody, they can't generate income.
I don't know our exact income.
All right. Do you own any land or buildings anywhere?
I don't own land or buildings.
How much money do you have in the bank or cash on hand?
I think I have some change in my purse.
I kind of low key get this and love that. I have some change in my purse. All right. Your girl works on a day-to-day basis. Like, what do you want? I don't have anything to give you. I'm indigent. Okay.
Do you own any personal property worth more than $1,000?
Alright. Gave everything to the most I got, but I am partially car, but I also don't own the whole thing.
Meaning you owe money against it to someone?
No, I half own it with my dad.
I see. All right, I do find you qualify for the appointment of an attorney. I'm going to appoint in this case Ms. Jolene Maloney.
So Tobin's asked, I'm confused. Is this reading the charges? This is the arraignment of her failure to report a death charge when Stacey called the police, say, I have a tip here. I'm ready to tell you everything. Because they had been investigating and interrogating and talking to Stacey in jail for quite some time, off and on. Nobody wants to talk about that, but they were. And this is why she's here, because she had a psychosis and started spouting off a bunch of nonsense about the high mighty God told me Stacey did it. So she said Sarah did, or Sarah did it, and then she said, I mean Stacey. So she's not all there. And this is just her arraignment.
I did review an affidavit of probable cause in this case and do, for purposes of disappearance, find probable cause. What's the state's position, if any, on Vaughan?
Your Honor, the state is asking for a relatively high bond. Obviously, there are implications associated with this charge. And this is the young boy that we're talking about has been missing for a year and a half. And so, it should be noted that
There's my
Ms.
due.
Wondra is on pretrial release for federal gun charges for felon in possession of a firearm. And so, and while that would have happened after Michael Vaughan initially disappeared, I think it shows that she's a danger to the community, and she fails to abide by the social norms that we all expect. And there are obviously very serious implications in her being aware of his whereabouts this whole time. So the state's asking for a $1 million bond.
Ms. Maloney,
$1
what
million.
presentation would you like to make?
Now listen up. So, I think her name is Mahoney or Maloney, something like that. She works as a public defender before the new system came into place for Idaho. And I'm not sure if she would be on this case if Sarah Wondra was charged with anything. I don't think that she can try death penalty cases either, if that happens as well. But I do like what she says here. I wish she would have fought a little harder, but here we go.
Your Honor, I recognize these are serious allegations. I would ask that the court consider the charges as they presently are and how they are articulated within the probable cause affidavit, and the absence of certain facts which may create issues with probable cause. I recognize that the court may have some concern regarding release. At this time, however, I would ask that the court consider any electronic monitoring in lieu or in conjunction with a lower bond, less than $1 million. $1 million.
All right, in this case, the court, as it does in all cases, of course, takes into account idle criminal.
So, recapping, there are issues and statements in the probable cause that will cause issues in the future, which again, I expressed, self-incrimination, first of all. So this law of failure to report a death is kind of silly because you have the right to not and self-incriminate yourself. It's a goofy law. But two, there's issues that are there's statements and facts that are lacking for this charge as well. Just because she says she thinks she knows who did it and God told her this person did it, that person did it. This is why you're going to see in the next phase of this point, Sarah has to get a mental eval. And I think that they were trying to evaluate, was she crazy when she said what she said or not? Like, we need to kind of see where she's at mentally, meaning the prosecutor. Because the investigators are not psychologists and therapists. They don't know shit about that stuff. But the prosecutor who is prosecuting this charge on her is going to give some more depth into that. And I'm going to tell you what I know. And I'm not, who would prove that? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you what I have been told by a very close source to Sarah, that she was not taking her medication for a lot of mental illnesses that she suffered with. Not to mention she is a type 1 diabetic or type 2 diabetic. And she was also experiencing recent psychotic episodes prior to this in November of 2022. She had gone to behavioral centers and things like that for help prior to this, okay? Because she wasn't taking her medication. And from my understanding, it was because God's going to heal her. I don't like being on this medication. God's going to heal me. And we all know that that's not always the right thing to do, right? I get it, but from the extent that I am aware of the mental issues, she needs that medication bad, and she wasn't on it.
46 and the factors set forth there, specifically problematic as it relates to a release conditions or on Ms. Wondra's own recognizance are her criminal history, which court was provided as part of the probable cause affidavit,
nailed it.
possibility of bias.
Thank you for pointing that out, Chris. I'm sorry to stop this, but fails to abide by social norms said by Mike Duke. What does that tell you? You can go ahead and take that statement on your screen of what Chris put, and apply it to every one of them, of the suspects named. Every single one.
Violations of law, were she to be released, and the inability to necessarily manage those effectively with restrictions on her release. The nature of her criminal history certainly would bring her character and reputation into question or disrepute. Unfortunately, taking those factors into account, the court will set bond in this case in the amount of $500,000. Should that bond be posted, Ms. Wondra must immediately sign up to pretrial release services to be monitored. She must be fitted with a GPS tracking device prior to her release from custody. She must not commit crimes pending the resolution of this case. She must not leave the state of Idaho. She must remain sober. Maintain contact with her attorney, attend all of her court hearings, sign a waiver of extradition, and sign up for pretrial release before leaving, otherwise the Payette County Courthouse complex. I'm going to set this for a status conference and review hearing on the 21st and 22nd of November. The status conference will be at 10 a.m. on the 21st and the preliminary hearing at 9 a.m. on the 22nd.
Your Honor, prior to the court recessing, may we take up a procedural issue?
Yes, I did receive, in this case, a motion, so it wasn't even filed yet. My clerk just handed it to me, a motion to seal at least the affidavit of probable cause, as I understand. Is that right, Mr. Duke?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Does the defense object to taking that up now?
No, Your Honor.
All right, and Mr. Duke?
Your Honor, the state's requesting that the probable cause affidavit be sealed. Obviously, this is a high-profile case, and there are privacy concerns as well as jury trial concerns should the details within the PC affidavit be released.
Jury trial concerns. There are concerns about the probable cause affidavit and names being named. So privacy concerns, and that would be the suspects that y'all blasted already on the whole entire internet and the world on TV. I don't think it had anything to do with them, because that wouldn't be an issue, would it? You already put them on billboards, so it isn't those people, is it? It has to be somebody else or others, right? Maybe? I don't know. Allegedly.
And in addition to those articulated in the motion, there is still an ongoing investigation, and so we worry about the impact that releasing certain details in the PC affidavit would have on the investigation. So we respectfully request that the court seal the PC affidavit.
That's because they did not want, at the time, they did not want Stacey's confession details to be out in the public, which is completely understandable. I would want it sealed too, if I were Mike or the courts, because remember all of the things that he had said. That would probably be in the affidavit, because Stacey is throwing everybody under the bus at that time. So good call. But I would love to know why they keep denying that PCA to me after this charge has been dropped since 2023.
At least temporarily, until we can have more time to flesh out those matters. Thank you.
Ms. Maloney, what response do you have, if any, if you have an objection at all, I suppose?
Your Honor, defense joins the motion, and I think it's appropriate pursuant to Idaho Board Administrative Rule 32, little I to big E, that this could jeopardize future proceedings given the public nature of this case at this time. So I would ask that the court grant the state's motion.
All right, I've reviewed Idaho Court Administrative Rule 32, I, and the authority that courts have to exercise discretion in the sealing or not of court documents. And I am going to seal the affidavit of probable cause and the investigative reports attached thereto pursuant to the motion, specifically taking into account subpart 2E and the preservation of right to a fair trial. The court is aware of the intense public interest in this matter and how publication of the details of this case may interfere with the ability
This judge
to
speaks so softly, like, speak up, use your whole chest. This is a problem, like, every time I listen to one of his court hearings. It's like, what?
a jury and receive a fair trial in the case. In addition, of less focus, I suppose, for the court, there are some risks of harm to persons should that information be publicly available. And so in the circumstances of this case, the interest in privacy predominates over public disclosure, as is set forth in subpart I-1. I'll ask you, Mr. Duke, to prepare an order detailing those findings as required by the rule and sealing the case. Of course, this is something that's subject to being revisited should that be determined to be
revisited.
appropriate.
Yeah, revisited. It's been how long since this arraignment, and I still can't get the PCA? Because you won't revisit it. It's time to revisit it. So revisit it.
Necessary, so the order will last until it's revisited by this court or some other court. You have any questions about that?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Anything else to take up today from either of you?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll be in recess.
Please rise.
All right. Now, as we all know, her charge was dropped. She saw Miss Stucklick, I guess is her name. Hold on.
New at 6, Sarah Wondra back in court today to hear new charges against her in Payette County. She is charged with 3 felonies: aggravated assault with a firearm, concealment of evidence, and possession of a controlled substance. Wondra pleaded not guilty this afternoon to all those. She is the woman who was charged earlier this year with failure to report a death in the case of missing 5-year-old Michael Vaughan in Fruitland. Now, those charges were dropped by the prosecution April 17th. Today's charges are not related to the Michael Vaughan case. Michael went.
So you heard that. She was recharged with old stuff that happened in April of 2022. This is just my absolute favorite story to tell about Tanner Butler staying over there, being an ass, being drunk. She gets mad. Sarah had a firearm that she was not supposed to have. I found out how she got that one. That's for another day. But it wasn't something that was given to her for her to have. It was given to her for safekeeping. But anyway, they refiled charges on her to keep her in jail. Can we just admit that? They dropped everything at the time in April of 2022 for some reason. I believe it was due to a federal matter because she was on pretrial release before the excavation. So anyway, they charge her with this stuff. and then the feds pick it up. They wanted her to be in prison for something. And I just don't know for the life of me how they got away with this in particular charges, but that's for another day. They wanted her in prison. They always wanted her to stay in prison, and including Stacey. The probation violations of his own thing was so ridiculous. Dude, it was ridiculous. And with the help of people supporting the family, setting him up for some of that failure, which is his fault, don't get me wrong. But people are meddling in the lives of others. It's sickening. And I just feel off about this whole situation, keeping them in jail and how they kept them in jail. But that's just my opinion.
Missing from his front yard back in July of 2021. Wondra lived about 4 blocks from the Vaughan family home when he went missing. Police say they believe Michael's remains were once buried on Wondra's property, but his body was not found when the yard was excavated as part of that investigation.
All right. So where is Sarah at this point? Well, she had a probation hearing. She's going to finish out one of her charges in a facility in Cuna, but she is detained to go back to Payette County in 2026 to, I believe, finish out the remaining charge in 2027. I think she gets out sometime in 2027. So that's where she's at this time, but it can change. She's trying to figure out, from my understanding, what to do next, and that could change. So we're just holding off on it, or she is, rather, not we. She is. And I will update you if I find out anything. But I think she's trying to look for some legal help on that situation with her current charges. I'm related to Michael. So, what next? I think I'm going to have to wrap it up because it is Mr. Eve's birthday. However, I do have something important to share. You know how at the very beginning of this live, I told you about the motion to dismiss that writ of Prosecutor. I think that this might put into context a little bit of why it was dismissed during this very odd time, and we're gonna watch it. Okay.
That day, they said stay away.
So this is Hidden True Crime, who I am not a fan of. Don't get me wrong. I am not a fan. Done some shady stuff in many cases that I'm not appreciative of. However, she did cover the case, and this is relevant. This was January of 2025, and let's just listen. Let's just listen to this clip.
That day, they said stay away. Yep. That day, they said stay away. Yep. That day, they said.
Oh, I think it had a issue with.
Need everyone's help.
Here we go. Sorry
I
about
made a
that.
promise. $1,272 days ago to Michael. I promised him that no matter what, I would never give up, and I will bring him home. Now things have added along the way. And
Now things have added along the way. I can only assume that this is, yes, you heard that right, Toe Beans. Things have added along the way should, in my mind, could mean that it's because of the liver issues. That's, it could be more, I don't know, but that's just my opinion.
Michael, we are going to bring you home. That still stands. That promise still stands. and we will get justice for you. Now, there are a few family members and
There are a few family members and
a few law enforcement officers that I
there are a few family members and a few law enforcement officers that
in case I am unable to fulfill this promise,
in case I'm unable to fulfill the promise to bring Michael home, that she cannot fulfill the promise to bring Michael home, there are family members and law enforcement officers that
before my day's end, they're going to hold up my word as if it's mine. And they vow for
that the family members and the law enforcement officers are going to hold up her word in case she doesn't make it through this health process, to bring him home. Does anybody need to hear that again? I know it's hard to stop and play. I can play it just from start to finish if you'd like. We can do that too.
So please keep Michael and our family and everyone in your prayers. I need everyone's help. I made a promise.
Do we need to play that just from start to finish without my commentary? Put a one in the chat if you would like that before I wrap it up. Okay. And I think that is why we have charges right now. They didn't think she was going to make it, right? Okay. Chris says 1. Okay. Let's start over. Just remember, she is saying that she made a promise to Monkey that we will bring you home. As Neptune is my witness, we will bring you home. Now, it was said to the older sister that evening that Brandy said, per her words, per older sister's words, that I will never give up searching if it's the last thing I do. That was very crucial to me, learning about that recently, for reasons. But this was a promise she made the day of that, after the disappearance. Okay, she's made this promise, and keep that in your mind. And again, she said law enforcement officers and family members will uphold that promise if I cannot do that, if I don't make it. All right?
I need everyone's help. I made a promise. $1,272 days ago. To Michael. I promised him that no matter what, I would never give up, and I will bring him home. Now things have added along the way. And Michael, we are going to bring you home. That still stands. That promise still stands. And we will get justice for you. Now, there are a few family members and a few law enforcement officers that I in case I am unable to fulfill this promise before my day's end, they're going to hold up my word as if it's mine. And they vow for that. So please keep Michael and our family and everyone in your prayers. I need everyone's help. I made a promise.
Okay. And that is a great promise. Great promise. I understand it. I get it. It's very touching. And maybe there was a deal here where, for whatever reason, whatever it may be, and we're not going to know. We could speculate until the cows come home. We don't know what that is or if it even exists. But let's go back to Mike Duke's breakdown. Okay. After a robust investigation by Fruitland and countless assisting agencies, we have not brought Michael home to recover his remains. Our foremost hope has always been to recover Michael, but delays now risk further harm to his loved ones. We believe we know the individuals involved and are committed to pursuing justice with or without Michael's recovery. Whatever that means, and I still struggle with understanding that if it's an emotional harm, which I'm sure, of course. Physical harm, I don't know. I'm not trying to overanalyze this right at this moment, but for whatever reason that means or what it is, I think has a big chunk to do with what's happening right now with the charges and things being brought forward quickly. We believe we know the individuals. We believe we know the individuals involved and are committed to pursuing justice with or without Michael's recovery. The search in Lemhi County did not, in my opinion, pick up anything in regards to Michael at all. I don't know for sure if or how this tip or a tip came to light on in Lemhi County. I know that there was a visit near, I believe the family went to Salmon, Idaho at one point before Michael went missing. I'd have to double check that. I believe so. Or Chalice, near Chalice. And maybe they were, I don't know, they believed that they were followed and Michael's with them, and maybe somebody was involved in watching them this entire time. I don't know. That's alleged. What I'm trying to get at is maybe they had to follow this through to the very tippity end of possibilities when they went and searched at the cemetery at in Leodore and didn't come back with any evidence to my knowledge or found Michael at all. Maybe they had to go to Texas to verify that Michael wasn't moved there when Sarah and Stacey were contacted by someone who breeds dogs to go and rescue one named Joy from Texas. Maybe they had to make sure that either to clear it completely, because why wouldn't you? And all of that jazz. Now that happened this year. Absolutely happened this year. Where detectives or a detective went down to Texas to verify where all they went and stuff like that. And I'm sure there was other searches, and I'm sure there were other things we will not know of until the charges are brought. But maybe they had to just really clear every single thing they could think of or something that came their way to make sure with 100% certainty that something didn't happen in the way that it's being portrayed. Okay? Maybe that was also a promise to go to the ends of the earth to make sure that any possibility needs to be followed. I don't know. I'm not the one that spoke to Mike Duke in January of 2025. You know, and around that time we have Chief Huff purchasing an item believed to have evidentiary value, believed to have it, and required for forensic processing. Well, that just cleared up my statement from earlier. The Lexus, for forensic processing regarding the Michael Vaughan investigation. They approved that $6,000 purchase request from the reward fund. Okay. Now, for the locals watching, just to have knowledge of this, there was a lot of money being turned out, right? In regards to this excavation. One of them was $5,000 to help with the unforeseen expenses in 2024 or 2022 going into 2023. I'm sorry. And then requesting another $15,000 to help continued unforeseen expenses related to the investigation. Okay. And there's more. But that's just to give you an idea of how hard they went after this alleged tip. And we are going to see if it yields. Okay. Now, the difference between funds being asked by the city or the county to help with investigations versus the reward fund is a very interesting take. I don't know what would make them do it that way. I don't know. Maybe it's because the reward fund is tied to information being given by someone who knows how to recover Michael. That's just my thought process. If you're getting money for forensic processing, which you don't need the reward fund for, in my opinion, unless you're doing a private, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't even want to speculate on that. What I'm trying to say is the reward fund is specifically for bringing Michael home. Okay. And in this year, early this year, funds are being paid out to someone, somehow, for forensic processing. I'm not going to speculate for anyone on that. I'm going to let you percolate on why you think that is, because I am not here to sway you on this one. I'm not doing it. I'm not even going to put my input on it, but it is interesting. And you should know about things like this, especially if you're local, and a lot of locals watch me. So I know it's not as juicy as, theories being put out there about the duffel bag. Can we talk about that real quick before I wrap up, okay? The duffel bag that everyone says, oh God, oh Lord, they must have put Michael in the duffel bag, right? Clutch my balls. Or the clothes that had maybe evidence, blah, 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 blah. You're wrong. And you have nothing but Stacey's word, which really, you're going to go chase speculation with his words. Okay. That duffel bag was a tool bag. That's what he used it for. Tool bag. It's a tool bag. Nothing came of it. Allegedly. A tool bag. You won't see that, though. You won't see them put that on their lives because it's just another bullshit claim that they can't admit to. You think they know things because they surround themselves and exploit the family of a missing child who has allegedly been murdered. And they can't verify a fucking thing but speculate on 99% of what they say and want you to believe it's fact. Clutch my Cash App. Love it. Love it. That's a new troll name. 100%. 100%. There are things that you really need to question. they make it sound really nice. They make it sound really good and believable. Because in the Summer Wells case, that was rampant. That every speculative thing out there was spun 18 million different ways, and it did not bring Summer home. Did it? It didn't do anything but cause more chaos and harm to people that didn't deserve it. So, and wasted police and law enforcement's time. Can we stop? Like, please question your creator on why they think that is. They might block you. They might just try it one time. Just buck the system on one theory that they say over and over again once and see what happens to you. And if you don't like what they do, I'm still here. Okay? I'm still here to talk about this case. But just try it once. See what happens. That's how you know it's bullshit. In my opinion. So please be careful what you hear. There's people that are emailing me habitually saying, I wish that I could talk into your chat, but I know that I'll get scrutinized. I really wish I could support you because I believe what you're saying and I believe in you. And I'm questioning everything, but I'll get the nth degree. I get it every day. And as much as I appreciate and respect their honesty, just do the right thing. Just do the right thing and stand for your convictions and what you believe in. Don't go to the masses. You're just as bad as if you join the rest of them. If you really truly believe that you have an issue with something that's being fed down your throat, do something about it. That is an honorable thing to do, in my opinion. Or continue doing what you're doing. But the next thing that I definitely want to debunk before we go, I swear I'm wrapping it up, is, let me see if this is the one. The people who constantly make these egregious claims behind the accounts, behind the scenes, that are regurgitated on PNW's Live, Clutch My Balls, aka Justin's, and whomever else. They're getting this from people who are certifiably erroneous in what they claim happened. They're getting information from someone who's off their proverbial rocker. People that dox kids, people that harass, people that loved Michael. And they teamed up with other creators like Levi Hoger and others. PJ Vision, Dolly's girlfriend, I guess that's what they are. And others. Lynn from IL and others. Lana Westbrook, perhaps. Yeah, for sure. And all of these crazy theories get spun around and around and around. And I swear to God, that better not be why they searched and did things that they had to do. Like, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay. Be careful who you get your information from. Please, even myself, question me. Just think about it. And that's it. That's all I got for now. Thank you so much for being here. Hit that like button. No matter how you feel about me, go ahead and subscribe if you like what you hear. And I'm going to see you guys on the next live. I'm really hoping that this justice is the right justice, is the right one for Michael. And I hope that the surviving family members heal as much as they can going forward when this thing goes to trial, or if it does. Just report on it accurately, peeps. That's all I ask. All right, guys, as I say, drink your water. Hug yourself, your fur babies, grandbabies, whomever you need to. And I will see you on the next live. Much love to you guys. Bye.
In the dead of the night, baby, the world is silent. Mother knows what you did. Mother knows what you did. Mother knows what you did. You tell yourself